Hello, Tech Pros, episode 211.
Daily think you have to work on your motivation every day. It won't come into you on its own.
Welcome to the podcast where I chat with professionals who are getting the job done using technology 7 days a week. Each week we start with Motivation Monday. Tuesday is about productivity, Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. All right, let's get started. Hello, Tech Pros. This is Chad Bostic, and I'm excited to introduce our featured guest today, Michal Stawicki. How was that? Was that a decent pronunciation?
Great one.
Perfect. Awesome. How you doing today, Michal?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Great. Are you ready and motivated to get this interview started?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Michal Stawicki spends his days in IT and moonlights as a writer, but he hopes one day to turn his writing into a full-time passion. He calls himself a progress fanatic. Michal writes about how to expand your limits so you can regain control over your life based on his personal experience. His mission is to help people change their lives even if they don't believe they can. And dude, I so appreciate that message because I've made a lot of changes across my life, and I still have many, many, many more changes to go that I want to implement. But it can be really, really difficult. I mean, there's so much negativity and hate and just bad things in the world. But for me personally, the thing that's always held me down the most is just my internal mindset and my internal beliefs on what I can accomplish, what I'm able to accomplish, or the type of person I can be. And so I really appreciate you sharing this message with us today.
Thank you very much.
Cool. So, Michal, on Motivation Monday, we're all about trying to be that highly energetic person that's just thankful for life and crushing our passions and going after both our careers and our business and everything in between, just like you said, regaining control over our lives. But sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're stuck in a period of unmotivation. There are things getting us down. There's depression. There's all kinds of things wearing on us, just the daily grind of going to work every day. So if you don't mind, I'd like for you to tell us a story about your personal struggle with motivation, specifically the time in your life when you were the most unmotivated. And then we'll talk about that and see how you turned it around.
Well, I think it will be before my transformation. So before 2012, when I was simply aimless. So as you said, I was going to my day job into the grind, and I didn't see any sense in that. Nothing was great, everything was okay or worse, and I really didn't believe I can turn my life around. That was my problem. What kept me afloat was my faith, because, I put my trust in God, and I always thought, okay, but He has something more for me. But I couldn't figure out for the word of it. And really, I was in IT for 8 years, and I was sick of my job and of my life, despite, as I said, it was okay, but it wasn't great. And I felt deep inside that, I could do better. I just couldn't figure out how. And then, I see the finger of God, that The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson, the book, landed in my lap when I was on vacation in Ireland, visiting my family. And this book, blew my mind. And it's not that I changed my life within a day, week, or a month, but I changed it. And I struggled the whole month keeping this message of the book in my mind and pondering, is it possible? Can I do that? Is it true? But the slightest message got me because I had the past instances in my life that I did something for a long period of time and got results. And Jeff really convinced me that this is true for everything in your life. So if you just are consistent, the results will come. It's unavoidable. So, and I started after a month. I started several small habits, and I observed that yes, it's true. The longer I am sticking with them, the better my results, and it expanded my horizon, my mindset, and from then on, I'm still working on my habits every single day.
So take us back to this time when you were struggling, right? So you said you were you had a day job, you were working in IT, and things were okay, but they weren't great. They were okay or they were bad. So can you tell us about maybe some of the specifics about the work or about your job or your career that you just didn't really, that made it okay and not great, or worse than okay, it made it not so good?
Yeah. Well, I have now comparison because now I am writing and this is great. So, but back then I didn't know the difference. Yeah. So yeah, my work was interesting because IT is overall interesting. The projects were various, so I was never very bored. And so it was okay. The worst part was when I was laid off in the time of crisis. And well, suddenly my family was on its own. We had savings for 3 months, something like that. Luckily, I found a new job quite quickly, but it was a wake-up call that, well, employment is not a marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely resonate with what you're saying there because I worked at a company for 13 years, and there were times while working there that I thought I was going to retire there. I thought I would work there for 25, 30, 35 years and then retire at the end of my career. But the industry had some struggles, had many struggles, ups and downs, very cyclical economy. And I survived many layoffs. But unfortunately, after 13 years of being there, I lost my job as well. And in my case, I was able to find another job right away. And so applied to that and was laid off again. And then found another job just a few days later and was laid off again. And it was like after the third time of being laid off, I was like, you know what? I have to do something else other than just work for someone else. In my case, I felt a strong urge and desire to build something of my own. And I think one of the things that held me back from building my business a long time ago was a fear that I was not able to be successful. Like, I'm not a businessman. I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. I know how to do IT things. I know how to do software development. I know how to be a good employee, but I don't know how to start a business. And what I found is, after being laid off 3 times from 3 different companies in 3 different industries, that, you know what? It's not safe. There's no such thing as a permanent job. Those companies are experimenting. Those companies are trying things, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. And it's not a big deal if you try something, you try a business, and it doesn't pay off. Like, that's what I learned. What did you take away through this process of going from losing your job to then deciding that you wanted to do something different?
Yeah, I was totally in the same framework of mind as you, and I didn't believe I can be a successful businessman. But then I realized that, well, I don't have any other choice, because it will never be security in my job. Never ever. So despite my inability to be a businessman, I have to learn somehow, and I'm very glad for opportunities of today's world that, I am mostly working for my American audience in Poland, part-time, and I started from scratch, from nothing, and I was very careful about every cent I spent on my business, and I made it profitable. It's not much, but that's mine. That's something I've built and created. So every dollar I get from my business is, for me, much more valuable than my salary.
So when you read this book, The Slight Edge, you were on vacation, you were traveling, and you read this book, and it sounds like you really took a strong message away from that book that really kind of changed your life. What was that message that you took away after reading that book?
My main struggle was, as yours, I didn't believe I can be successful. And the book said, but man, it's enough to do anything consistently, and there is no way you can fail, because the more you are doing, the more you are learning, and you are tuning your methods, and in the end, the success is unavoidable. And that's my experience, really. The longer you hustle and work on something, the better you get. And really, I tried this approach of developing small habits in every single area of my life. And in every single area of my life, I've got results. And the results I didn't believe previously I can achieve, yeah? Like earning money on my own, even $1, it was beyond my mindset, yeah? That I can make money from my writing. And then several months later, I published my first book, and I was shocked that people who don't know me are finding the book in the store, and they are willing to pay money for something I have written. It was absolutely eye-opening.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. So what made you decide to be an author? Had you always wanted to write something? Did you have stories inside of you that you wanted to share? Or were you inspired by the book that you read by Jeff Olson and say, well, if Jeff can do it, then I can do it as well?
No, I am an avid reader, and I've read thousands of books in my life. And when I was young, I read a few books a day, and I always put myself into the story and try to modify the plot, imagining that I am inside and doing some great deeds, and those stories lived inside me. But I really buried this dream inside me about the time I started my family when I was 21. I never went back to the idea that I can be an author. And after reading The Slight Edge, I started to consuming a lot of personal development materials and read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey said they're about personal mission statement, and I started creating that. And I discovered inside me that, I want to be a writer. That's something I would like to do for the rest of my life. And I had no clue how to do it. And for those several months before publishing my first nonfiction book on Amazon, it was, I was trying to find my way. And I had several spectacular failures, like with publishing fiction in my native language, Polish, and my story was trashed on the literary forum. And then I published this first book on Amazon, and people were willing to pay, and I decided, okay, I will stick with that because this is something which works for me.
So tell us about the first book that you wrote. So I'm looking at your Amazon profile here, and dude, you've got a lot of material. Like, how many books have you written?
I have written a few more than the 15 that are on the store because I haven't published a couple yet. So yeah, there is 15. My first one was the book about how to create personal mission statement.
Okay, so all right, so you were going through the process after reading Stephen Covey's book of building your own mission statement, your personal mission statement, and through that process, you decided that, hey, you know what? I am an author. That's what I'm put on this earth for. So what I'm going to do is write my story and write an how-to guide for other people on how they can come up with their own mission statement. And so you wrote that book and then you published it.
Not exactly. It seems what you are saying is like this picture, what people think the success looks like.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you know this picture?
I've seen it, right? So I'm picturing a picture where what success I think looks like is like a graph that goes from the lower left up to the upper right, and it's a straight line and it's just positive, right? But what reality actually looks like is something completely different. So tell us about the reality of writing that first book and getting it published.
So I've told you about my spectacular failures. So one blog, then another, then this attempt to write fiction. And really, after my story was trashed, I was helpless. I didn't know what to do with myself because I tried every approach, it seemed, and nothing went out of that. And at that time, I was participating in online transformational contest, and I interacted daily with many great people on the forum of that contest. I shared my process of creating personal mission statement, and one of my friends remarked, okay, that sounds really clear and good. Maybe you should write an ebook about that. So I thought, yeah, why not? Till that time, I discovered that the one thing writers do is writing. So I had to write something. Why not about this topic, which I felt very confident about, because from that moment on, I wrote only about my personal experiences. So in my books, I pour a lot of me into them, and I'm very confident about the subject I'm talking about. So as I said, it was about 7 months after I discovered I want to be a writer when I started writing the book, and it took me 46 days, something like that, from writing the first word to publishing it on Amazon, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's less than 2 months. So, man, that's a great productivity story to be able to write a book, a complete book, and have it published in less than 50 days. That's absolutely amazing. Congratulations. So what did you learn about yourself and your own motivation once you saw this success, right? So you had a lot of spectacular failures. You tried your hand at writing different blogs and fictional stories and so forth, and just got a lot of bad reviews on that. But once you published this book on Amazon about your own stories in here, how did that feel the first time that someone bought that book?
Oh, thanks, Chad, for taking me back into that moment, because right now I don't appreciate what I have, that I sell about a dozen books every day, and I'm frustrated because during the launches I had something like 20 to 50 to 80 books a day, and I'm frustrated. But back then, when I targeted the first purchase, which wasn't done by my friend, I was blown away. Because people were willing to pay for something I put out there. That was amazing. And the next such epic moment was when something wrote a review, and it wasn't my friend. Someone just appreciated what I've done. And then was another great moment. After a few months, I've got the first email from my reader saying, "Thank you very much for the book. It changed my life." And
wow.
Yeah, and from then I'm hooked. I'm very hooked. I love helping people, and I love success stories of my readers.
That's fantastic, man. That is absolutely motivating. I can completely agree with you. Like when I launched the podcast, right? Every episode is free. You don't pay anything to download it, but still you have to invest 30 minutes of your time to listen to each episode. And so the first people who downloaded the episodes were, of course, my friends. So I would watch the statistics in the graph, in my download app, and see where people from the world were that were downloading this. And I am from Oklahoma in the United States, and I currently live in Florida. And so in launch week, it was 90% of the people that were downloading the episodes were from those two states, and a few other downloads from other states that I had been to, or other states where my friends and family lived. And so I knew that it was really not strangers. It was my support group. It was people who were interested in me and what I had to say in this crazy new venture that I'd gotten myself into that were downloading it. But after a month, it was completely random, right? There's people in Poland listening to it. There's people in Brazil. There's people in China. There's people all over the United States. There's people all over the world. And when they started writing to me and tweeting to me on Twitter, or sending me emails, or sending reviews saying, "Hey, Chad, thanks. That message about social anxiety, or that message about motivation, or that message about entrepreneurship, that really helps. Awesome. Keep up the good work." For me, it was like, wow, like I can't believe it. So when people talk about different levels of success, like how do you determine your success? I think there's many aspects to that. And for me, one of the biggest things was just the fact that, people are engaging and they are listening to my show, or in your case, they are buying your book and they're reading your book, and they're not your friends, they're not your family, they're just strangers who are resonating with that story, with your personal story, and like really getting a lot of value in it. So, dude, just congratulations, first of all, for going through that process and putting yourself out there and implementing those hard changes. Sometimes making those changes in your mindset and believing that you can do something other than the thing that you've been trained how to do, or the thing that you have 10 years of experience in doing, making that change is a huge step. So in just a moment, I want to ask you about, we talked a little bit about how the people in your life, like, were leaving reviews and were giving you encouragement and stuff like that. So how important those relationships are in your life. But first, we'll take a quick break and thank our sponsors. This episode of Hello Tech Pros is sponsored by Minio Cloud Storage. Minio is a cloud object storage server for developers and DevOps written in Go. The Go programming language is the emerging language of choice for modern cloud infrastructure projects, and it allows Minio to be highly concurrent and lightweight. Minio is Amazon S3 compatible, built with microstorage architecture in mind, but at its heart, Minio is simple, scalable, and supported by a passionate developer and user community. In episode 89 of Hello Tech Pros, I talked with A.B. Periasamy, one of the founders of Minio, about the importance of community support and recruiting software developers who are as passionate about their product's code as artists are of their art. Check out that episode at hellotechpros.com/89 and check out Minio Cloud Storage at minio.io. That's minio.io. Are you new to podcasting? Are you looking for a fast, high-quality, yet budget-friendly podcast production team? Let TransSource Media take care of you. With a team of professional audio and video editors, writers, and graphic artists, they can help you build your podcast from planning, post-production, and platform submission. Using only cutting-edge software and studio equipment, they're here to make each and every show sound at its best. To get a free quote, please visit www.transsourcemedia.com or send them an email at marketing@transsourcemedia.com or call them at 209-505-5693. TransSource Media, transforming businesses through the power of multimedia. Okay, we're back with Michal Stawicki. Michal is a published author and IT expert, and he's changed his life from being a person that's worked in IT, just kind of having an okay job or having a not okay job, having a really bad time in his career and facing those layoffs, that sometimes we face, to being a self-published author. And now he's got 15 books on Amazon, and he's got more in the works that are unpublished at this point, at the time of this recording. So, Michal, you talked about when you first published the book, it took a while, but when those first reviews came in that didn't come from your friends, didn't come from your family, how much that meant to you and how much joy and appreciation you got out of that moment. But let's take it back and talk about those people who were helping you at the beginning get those first reviews or get those first purchases. How critical was it for you to have people in your life to actually support you in your efforts before you really started seeing progress from strangers?
Well, it was extremely important because the thing is that my wife was against that. So I remember a day after launching my second book, she read my books and she sent me an email. Well, it's nothing groundbreaking, man. Put yourself together and find a better job. And she had a bad day then, and I've managed to convince her that I deserve a fifth chance or maybe 10th. Anyway, she allowed me to continue my writing, but, well, I was lonely. I was very lonely, and I had this support group of my friends from Transformational Contest, and their input and their encouragement was a great factor. When I go back to that time, I had only them, and one of them prodded me to start writing this book. Another one of them helped me to edit my first book because my English is self-taught and any author needs a second set of eyes on his text. And he really did a great job. Later, my books were professionally edited and not much problems and errors, mistakes were found. So. And I draw from them on every single step. And if not their encouragement, I don't know if I could continue so long. Because they were cheering me up on every step. I didn't make a fortune from my first, second, or third book. In fact, those were just several to a few dozen bucks a month. So really, 1 or 2 hours or overtime were worth more than this. But they keep cheering me up and yeah. Thank you, Chad, for talking about this, because I'm again in that year 2013 and feel so grateful for them, and I need to go back to them and tell them I will ask them to listen to this podcast episode, because really they helped me a lot and are still helping me. In fact, my 2 accountability partners are from that group, so we are in contact every week and supporting each other.
That's fantastic, Michal. So again, congratulations on on working through those problems. Man, it is so rough when the people that are the closest to you, I truly believe that when you get negative feedback like that, like, hey, dude, you better go back and get another job. It's not necessarily done out of hate or out of spite or out of a negativity, but really out of care and concern for you. Like, you are really good at getting a job. You're really good at the work that you do, and I believe in you there. This is new territory, and I'm afraid for you. I'm afraid for our family. I fear that we won't be able to make it, and you're just kind of wasting your time. And
the problem is that she was right. Yeah. What you are saying is all true, and she had previous experiences with me. I remember a few years back, I tried to invest in the stock exchange, and I lost some money. So she had past experiences with my ideas, so I don't blame her for her skeptical attitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but just the ability to have the mindset to keep trying, right? Even though you've had failures in the past, right? And that's what I want to get out of this call. That's what I'm taking out of this call is, even though we have failures in the past, even though we let our friends and family down, even though we let ourselves down, and we don't hit it big the first time out of the first time we go to bat, that doesn't mean that we should just give up on our dreams, right? So through this story, Michal, you told us about lots of critical failures that you had with Stock Exchange and with writing other stories and with, different opportunities that you've tried, but you struggled. And for me, the Motivation Monday stories are really not about like, hey, we're all fantastic. We're all amazing people. Like, we can do great things. But it's like, we all face struggles every day. And it's not about the energy that you go into it with. It's like how you persist through those struggles and face those struggles again and again and again. And not that what happens if I fail, it's what do I do after I fail? Because I know I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail again and again and again, and I'm going to keep pushing forward until I have a positive result. So that was my takeaway for this call, Michal. But if you could share any parting words of wisdom that you have for our audience, and then the best way that we can connect with you, then we'll say goodbye.
All right. So since we are talking about motivation, I have two great quotes about motivation. I hope I won't butcher them. One is from Zig Ziglar, who said that, motivation doesn't last, but bath doesn't last as well. That's why we recommend it daily. So it's a daily thing. You have to work on your motivation every day. It won't come into you on its own. And the second quote about similar lines is from Jim Rohn. Motivation gets you started. Habits keep you going. So I design purposefully my motivational habits. So every morning, part of my morning routine is I read through my personal philosophy document and look at my vision board, repeat my personal mission statement, because I prime myself up for the day. And every day is a struggle. It's 4 years since I started my transformation, and it's like this picture we talk about, that it's not a straight, easy line. It's a lot of turns and fails. But if you want to persist, and it's very important to persist, consistency is key to success. You need this motivation every single day, and you should design your own tools and methods to motivate yourself every single day.
Well, Michal, thank you so much for joining me on Hello Tech Pros today. I really value this conversation and the story about the struggles, because the struggles are real, and it takes this persistence, it takes this mindset of consistently building habits in order to work through the grind every day. Because, like you said, the motivation gets you started, but the habits absolutely continue throughout. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. It was a great fun.
Fantastic. Tech Pros, no matter what your dreams are, I truly believe that you can achieve them, but that doesn't mean that you're going to achieve it the first time you press the button or the first time that you decide that you're going to do it. You're going to have spectacular, enormous, catastrophic failures, and that's okay. Like, as long as you're still breathing on this earth, you can move forward. You can make progress. And every failure that you have is an opportunity to learn. And the best lessons you can learn are through that hard experience. And sometimes I want to learn just by watching other people, by listening to other podcasts, by reading books, and that's all great and well, and I've learned a whole lot, but it's nothing like actually putting it into practice and trying it and giving it a shot, and then coming up with my own lessons learned that then I can teach the world. You've been listening to Michal Stawicki, and I'm Chad Bostic, and until next time, take care. The show notes page for this episode can be found at hellotechpros.com/211. Do you use Slack for team communication? Join the Hello Tech Pros Slack channel at hellotechpros.com/Slack. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review, subscribe to this channel, and check back tomorrow. This has been Motivation Monday, but tomorrow my featured guest and I talk about productivity. On Wednesday, leadership, Thursday, technology, Friday, people and communication, Saturday, entrepreneurship, and Sunday, being unplugged. Then next week, we start it all over again with Motivation Monday. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.